or even with first episode of acute rheumatic fever, the patient can have rheumatic heart disease after decades. The commonest age group is between 5 to 15 years of age. When the child gets the infection by the age of 5, then they can establish rheumatic valvular heart disease by the age of 15 also. So it can involve at a later period. But acute rheumatic fever need not have carditis or residual rheumatic heart disease. So it can be simply fever and subsides with that. But usually recurrence is quite common. That's why we advocate primary prevention, secondary prevention, etc. in the therapeutics. So the acute rheumatic fever is diagnosed with clinical manifestations following Jones diagnostic criteria. It has major criteria which has 5 components and minor criteria. So there must be and also evidence for streptococcal infection in the form of throat swab being positive or anti-streptolysin ASO titer being positive. The major criteria, the mnemonic you can use it as cases. C for carditis, A for arthritis, S for subcutaneous nodules, and E for erythema marginatum, and S for Sydenham's chorea. So these are all the major criteria. So coming to carditis, it occurs in acute rheumatic fever and also in chronic rheumatic fever or even with recurrent rheumatic fever. So in acute phase, it may involve endocardium or myocardium or pericardium or all the 3 layers can get involved. So if the pericardium gets involved, you can have pericarditis. So the children will have chest pain of pericardial nature, and there may be minimal pericardial effusion. And again myocarditis, they can have tachycardia, S3 gallop with failure. And endocarditis, usually the prime valve which is affected is mitral valve. The first common valve which is affected is mitral. Then the next common is aortic. Then pulmonary. Tricuspid is very rare. Tricuspid and pulmonary. So mitral is the commonest valve. So you can have during the phase of carditis acute mitral regurgitation. So it gives the findings of acute carditis. Then arthritis, usually it is polyarthritis involving major joints like knee, elbow, wrist and other things. And they say it is migrating polyarthritis. First day it may be starting with the knee, then the next day it may get involved the other knee or the hand. So it is usually migratory polyarthritis. Usually there is no residual deformities with the rheumatic arthritis. Okay, whereas rheumatoid arthritis can lead on to sequelae like deformities, everything. Whereas rheumatic fever, which causes arthritis, does not produce any sequelae to the joint. It will be normal once the disease settles in. Then subcutaneous nodules. So it is present over the extensor aspects of the upper limb and lower limb. So it is a subcutaneous nodule. Then coming to the erythema marginatum, it is little difficult to identify in black complex persons, but very easily identifiable in fair skinned people. So the margins will be wavery and it tends to expand, erythema marginatum. And the fifth one is Sydenham's chorea. So if the involvement is the caudate nucleus of the brain, then the patient can have chorea. Isolated chorea following rheumatic fever is taken into account as a diagnostic of acute rheumatic fever, and it is otherwise called as Sydenham's chorea. So it will be exaggerated when the child is anxious. So you have to keep the child in a calm place and in isolated place so that they recover early with medications for chorea. Then the minor criteria, fever. will be considered as minor criteria, and inflammatory markers, that is ESR and C reactive protein, may be elevated, and there will be arthralgia, whereas arthritis is considered as major criteria. Arthralgia comes in minor criteria. And AV blocks, usually first degree AV blocks, which is seen as prolonged PR interval in ECG. That is again a minor criteria. And previous history of rheumatic fever is also taken as minor criteria, because the sore throat can be recurrent, and even rheumatic fever, acute rheumatic fever is also prone for recurrence. Then the other parameters in the form of throat swab being positive for group B, group A beta hemolytic streptococci, and ASO titer will be can be positive. So to diagnose two major or one major and two minor is necessary. However, American Heart Association has revised the Jones criteria for diagnosis of rheumatic fever with certain modifications, because who are all the low risk populations and who are having moderate to high risk population. Based on that, they have added the major criteria and minor criteria. So coming to the treatment aspect, so in pediatric age group, all the sore throats to be treated promptly. Otherwise, it may be one of the recurrence of group A beta hemolytic streptococcal infection. So you have to treat the sore throat with the evidence of lymph node enlargement and fever, so that you have to treat the patient to prevent recurrent infections and ongoing damages to the cardiac structure. So you have to treat the patient with antibiotics for over 10 days. The ideal choice of antibiotic during acute rheumatic fever with sore throat, it is the oral phenoxymethylpenicillin tablet, 250 milligram twice a day for 10 days if the child is of less than 27 kg. If the child is weighing more, then it can be increased to 500 milligrams twice daily for 10 days in case of acute rheumatic fever precipitated by sore throat. If the patient is allergic to penicillin, you can try amoxicillin 50 milligram per kg to a maximum of 1 gram daily for 10 days. It can be given as 3 divided doses or 2 divided doses. But usually, once the patient is allergic to penicillin, they may be even having allergic to amoxicillin. So other drug of choice is erythromycin or clarithromycin. This azithromycin group or erythromycin groups can be macrolides to be tried if there is allergic to penicillin and amoxicillin group of drugs. If the patient is sensitive to penicillin, you can give even a single dose of benzethyl that is 1.2 million units if the weight of the child is more than 27 kg. If the weight of the child is less than 27 kg, usually they will be less than 6 years of age. It is roughly 6 lakhs unit as IM. That clears or cures the acute rheumatic fever without a tendency for recurrence. But once the patient has got the typical history of acute rheumatic fever, secondary prophylaxis prevention strategies to be followed. So where there is a role of anti-inflammatory to be thought of. When the patient is having severe arthritis, the drug of choice for arthritis is aspirin, that is salicylates, in the dose of 50 to 60 milligram per kg per day in 4 to 6 divided doses. But routinely, that much amount of dose is not executed in many of the conditions. So, aspirin in the dose of 50 to 60 milligram per kg per day, if it gives a good relief to the arthritis, itself is diagnostic of acute rheumatic arthritis. So, those days it is taken as even a diagnostic point towards rheumatic arthritis, and not other arthritis like differential diagnosis for arthritis can be septic and other things. So this is one of the drug which is of use. So you have to treat the side effects in the form of gastric irritation to be noted and given H2 blockers or PPA so as to prevent gastric ulceration and gastritis. And then paracetamol can be combined. Other drug which is used for arthritis is naproxone. The dose of naproxone is 10 to 20 milligram per kg per day in two divided doses. It is an alternative to aspirin. Those who are not able to tolerate the high dose of aspirin, then you can think of naproxone. Otherwise, aspirin is a good drug, especially for carditis and arthritis. With respect to carditis, you have endocarditis or myocarditis or pericarditis with or without failure. So, give complete bed rest, which itself will reduce the heart rate, and anti-failure medications in the form of diuretic classics if there is volume overload or basal crepitations, tachycardia induced pulmonary edema. In also those situations where you get the findings for volume overload or failure in the form of bilateral basal crackles, then you have to give Lasix also. Then glucocorticoids, that is steroids, especially prednisolone in the dose of 1 to 2 milligram per kg per day and to be tapered over 3 weeks is to be administered when there is carditis. So as to prevent adhesions and other things, it is very remote to have constrictive pericarditis in rheumatic carditis, rheumatic pericarditis. And again, aspirin helps in carditis patient also. So bed rest, anti-failure medications, steroids to be given for carditis, and steroids to be tapered over 3 weeks. And for chorea, usually it exhibits 3 weeks after the illness, that is from acute rheumatic fever. So you have to give a calm environment, and with severe chorea, you have to give carbamazepine or sodium valproate. Otherwise, haloperidol is also of use. Though you are starting the medications, the response, that is the involuntary movement, chorea will take time, at least 1 to 2 weeks to subside. And you have to continue the same drugs for 2 weeks to months. According to the review and the involuntary movement, you have to continue it. And then again, steroid has a role with a dose of 0.5 milligram per kg daily and wean over 1 week for chorea, for treating chorea. For treating carditis, it is 3 weeks steroid in tapering doses. So these are all the primary modality of treatment when the patient or when the children is having acute rheumatic fever, where there will be ongoing high grade temperature, arthritis, migrating polyarthritis with or without carditis. So echocardiogram also will reveal which cardiac structure is getting involved, whether it is endocarditis, myocarditis, pericarditis, or all the three, or it is only pericarditis or only endocarditis. So all these things to be confirmed in association with echocardiogram, ECG, and clinical features like tachycardia, S3 gallop, and other things. So based on that, the preventive strategy is planned. So once the patient or child has got acute rheumatic fever, they have a tendency to get recurrence. So long-term penicillin prophylaxis as secondary prevention is indicated. The drug of choice again for secondary prophylaxis is benzathine penicillin if it is parenteral, or once in 3 weeks, or oral penicillin daily. If they are allergic to penicillin or amoxicillin, then the ideal drug is erythromycin, 250 to 500 milligram twice daily based upon the weight of the child. So, American Heart Association has given the recommendations for secondary prophylaxis. First, primary prevention is treating the sore throat and acute rheumatic fever completely and giving prophylaxis, secondary prophylaxis. So it depends on the category of the patient. So if you are taking the patient category as rheumatic fever, but there is no carditis, the patient has come out of the acute rheumatic fever well without carditis. There is no evidence of endocardial, myocardial, or pericardial involvement, and only there is polyarthralgia or arthritis and fever and other things. Then you have to give prophylactic drug for 5 years after the last attack or up to the age of 21 years. Whichever is longer, we have to give prophylaxis. Again, the drug for prophylaxis, as I have told already, it is either injection penicillin, which is benzathine penicillin once in 4 weeks, or oral penicillin daily, or erythromycin daily. 5 years after the last attack or up to the age of 21 years, whichever is long, you have to give prophylaxis. For second category, for rheumatic fever with carditis, but there is no residual valvular disease. So the patient had got rheumatic fever and carditis, evidence of carditis was there in the form of mitral regurgitation or pericarditis or myocarditis. Then you have to give prophylaxis for 10 years after the last attack or 21 years of age. Whichever is longer, we have to give the prophylaxis. Again, the same dose of injection penicillin, that is benzathine penicillin. If the weight is below 27 kgs, it is 6 lakhs deep IM once in 4 weeks. Or if the weight is more than 27 kg, it is 1.2 million, that is 12 lakhs deep IM once in 4 weeks. Or you can give tablet penicillin 250 milligram BD or 500 milligram BD according to the weight of the children. It is continuous till the prescribed period, 10 years after the last attack, if there is rheumatic fever with carditis, but there is no evidence of residual valvular disease, which is proved by echo. There is no thickening of valves. There is no commissural fusion. There is no fibrotic cardiac tendinae. Then it clearly says that there is no residual valvular heart disease. So if all those things in the form of anterior mitral leaflet being thickened, posterior mitral leaflet is thickened, and there is commissural fusion and shortening of the cardiac tendinae, fibrosis of the cardiac tendinae, all these indicates, and with mitral valve orifice being reduced from the normal 4 to 6 centimeter square, it will be reduced with a fish mouth appearance, stenotic features, or regurgitation. If there is a jet of regurgitation lesion in echo, then you say that there is residual valvular heart disease with the patient. So even in that case, you have to give 10 years of prophylaxis after the last attack or up to the age of 21 years. Whichever is longer, you have to take into account. For rheumatic fever with persistent valvular disease, they have established heart disease which is diagnosed by echo in the form of, again, the thickened AML, thickened PML, or restricted mobility of the valve leaflets, which produces stenosis. And then again, coaptation of the valve may be incomplete, so that there is regurgitation also. Both can exist in the same patient, stenosis and regurgitation. Because the coaptation is not complete, then the patient will have regurgitation, though the valve is stenosed and narrowed. So both can occur in the same patient. So which is indicated or which is taken up or diagnosed by echocardiogram. So it shows that there is permanent valvular heart disease. So if there are clinically, you can hear the MDM murmur or a systolic murmur, S1 being loud or whatever it may be. All these findings will be there after recovery from the acute rheumatic fever, which says it is a residual valvular heart disease or rheumatic heart disease has established in that patient. So in that case, the secondary prophylaxis is again given for 10 years after the last attack or 40 years of age, whichever is longer, then you have to give the secondary prophylaxis. At times, lifelong access also is needed or indicated because there is valvular deformity in the form of thickening, fusion, etc. And coaptation is difficult. So these are all the secondary prophylaxis that are adapted in any uh, particular patient for having rheumatic heart disease. So these are all the main treatment plan in acute rheumatic fever. So just I have given in the introduction, it is a that's just a revision I am saying. It is a systemic inflammatory disease involving the connective tissue, especially in the age group of 5 to 15 years. So the common connective tissues that are affected are present in heart, joints, subcutaneous tissues and neurological system. That's why you are having carditis, arthritis, erythema nodosum and subcutaneous nodules and chorea. So in developing countries, it is quite common. Nowadays, the incidence of rheumatic heart disease is less because usage of antibiotics for all the URI illnesses which are being treated by the primary physicians or at the primary health center. Most of the children gets treated for URI even for mild sore throat with antibiotics. So it is a little rare to see nowadays the recurrent sore throat or residual rheumatic heart disease. Again, the lifestyle modification and the hygiene part is also improved to some extent so that overcrowding, if it is avoided, then the chances of recurrent sore throat and rheumatic fever will be less. So we are diagnosing based on the clinical manifestations, which is given as Jones diagnostic criteria and evidence for streptococcal infection in the form of throat swab and ASO titer and inflammatory markers. So after the diagnosis is made and then depending upon the involvement of arthritis plus or minus carditis, we are treating the patient and chorea as a separate entity or along with this. So arthritis is treated with aspirin in high dose with all the protective mechanism to prevent side effects in the form of gastritis. And then if the patient or child is not tolerating, then naproxone is the drug of choice. It has to be given for at least 3 to 3 weeks. So then carditis, depending upon the involvement of the endocardium, myocardium, pericardium, again the drugs used are anti-failure measures if there is failure and regurgitation. And at times surgery is also warranted in acute rheumatic fever when there is severe mitral regurgitation. It is an indication for emergency surgery. Otherwise, the patient can die because of severe mitral regurgitation, valve rupture, and other things. So it is a rare case, but otherwise they will respond to anti-failure medications and digoxin to be used with caution if there is a first degree AV block, and diuretics, bed rest, and oxygen support whenever necessary. You have to give and treat carditis along with prednisolone in a tapering dose, and tapering to be done over 3 weeks for carditis. And for chorea, you are treating it with either carbamazepine or sodium valproate or haloperidol. That also, it takes 2 weeks or 1 to 2 weeks to subside, and you have to maintain it for 4 to 6 weeks to get relieved of chorea. And those patients to be monitored with periodical echo evaluation and clinical examination whether they are developing residual valvular heart disease or exhibiting valvular heart disease. So carditis, arthritis and chorea is being treated, then you are advocating the secondary prevention. And during the acute episode, you are giving antibiotics for 10 days, parenteral, oral, erythromycin, whatever it may be, the antibiotics to be completed for 10 days so as to prevent recurrent rheumatic fever with the advice of secondary prevention or secondary prophylaxis. It is a must. Secondary prevention, I have told. With simple arthritis, simple carditis without valvular heart disease, and permanent valvular heart disease. 3 categories. Rheumatic fever only without carditis, then it is 5 years after the last attack or 21 years of age, whichever is longer. Then rheumatic fever with carditis, no residual valvular heart disease, which is proved by echo. Then the prophylaxis is for 10 years after the last attack or 21 years of age. Then rheumatic fever with persistent valvular heart disease, it is 10 years after the last attack or 40 years of age, which are at times lifelong prophylaxis. So in between, the patient can have the complications of disease in the form of severe mitral stenosis with pulmonary hypertension, atrial fibrillations, systemic or pulmonary embolism, heart failure. These are all the common complications because of the residual valvular heart disease. Those are all the things to be taken care of. So, if the patient is properly treated during acute traumatic fever and secondary prevention is adapted and followed critically, then the chances for chronic residual deficits and severity of the valvular heart disease will be very much less. If they are symptomatic with the residual valvular heart disease, then they are treated surgically. Till then, they have to have penicillin prophylaxis, either parenteral or tablets. If they are allergic, erythromycin to be continued. Okay, these are all the therapeutics that are advocated in acute traumatic fever as primary prevention and secondary prevention. Able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
In television,
Ma'am?
the other books on pediatrics, you can go through because it's very well given in pediatric book rather than in Davidson. Because acute traumatic fever usually presents between the age of 5 years and 15 years. So go through why to have a better knowledge so that you can completely prepare about the acute traumatic fever, which is commonly asked as a long say question or short answers, or even in the clinical side, it is more relevant. So, what is the pathophysiology, bread and butter pericardium, ash of nodules? What about the features of endocarditis? All those things you completely revise and make a notes of it so that it is of use for your clinicals also in pediatrics and in general medicine. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just ask, ma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, pa.